and say, hey, man, how are you really doing this shot? And they'll tell you, right? No punches pulled. I like that.
Yeah, right. That's great. That's great advice. So, Doug K, you're in Hangout. You've had your hands on a lot of gear, right? For our new series, all about the gear, and even before then, you're a gearaholic. Only now your wallet's probably not hurting as much because we're working with borrow lenses on that. So, tell me about your perspective when we look at this. When you get people in your photo walks that you lead around San Francisco, you get the folks that are saying, "Hey, Doug, you are more informed than I am on all this gear. What should I get?" What do you tell them?
Well, I think Rob said something that really triggered an idea in my mind a moment ago. You know, it used to be when you go out on a photo walk, or let's say you got an assignment and you're really not sure what you're going to get. In the DSLR days, what would you take? You typically take the big 2.8 zooms, whether you're Canon or Nikon. You take the 14 to 24, the 24 to 70, the 70 to 200 to be prepared for everything. And you'd have a big, heavy camera bag. But with these little guys, it's really much more about the prime lenses. I have a camera bag that weighs a fraction of what I have when I take my Nikons, and it's all filled with prime lenses, and they're tiny. So I might go out with 5 prime lenses in a bag that weighs a fraction of what I did. And I think when you're on photo walks, you're with other groups, people see that and you said, wow, you don't have much gear, but you seem to be prepared for anything. And I think that's sort of what it's all about.
Love it, love it. All right, moving on in the Hangout, Steve Lynch, Hybrid Hero. When you're looking at this stuff and you positioned as the guy that's able to train people on how to do this motion stuff in hybrid, how does hybrid translate over to, say, land, or not so much landscape, but wildlife and that sort of photography? You know, even if you're not shooting that, how does it translate over there? Can people do that?
Yeah, you can do it. You can definitely do it. You can do any kind of style of photography with these mirrorless cameras, and you can make anything into a hybrid style. So, you know, you got a video button now. You just push it, you start shooting it. You know, the main thing for me, especially when it comes to conversions and lens selection, things like that, I don't really think about it anymore. I think about what that lens is going to be good for. And I'm more of a portrait style background, and I know the kind of looks I like to get. So I equate that to whatever lens I want. So.
And then and I've been posing this in a lot of these Hangouts that we've been doing, and still on you, Steve. So the idea of the ideal kit for the kind of photography that you do. Where are the holes in your kit right now? Is there anything that's gear-wise or focal length-wise, or even ISO sensitivity? Are there any things that are missing that you're like, hey, Panasonic R&D, if you're listening, put this thing in there? And Will, I know you probably have some comments.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm pretty good right now with the way that everything fits together. Maybe, the GH3 is a great camera, maybe just a tad lighter, because I love like the weight of the G5 and the GH2. I like that small light kit I can take wherever. But the lenses that we are using right now are fabulous, and there's no holes in there. I mean, we got great lenses to cover every single range. I'd like to see maybe a few more primes, because I'm a big prime shooter. So I'd like to see Panasonic come out with maybe a few more primes, something with a really fast aperture. I see that, Will. Yeah. I got one of those behind me too. But that'd be the main thing that I'd want to see as a portrait shooter, because I like getting that really shallow depth of field.
/Lumix Lounge. Doug K, going back to you into the Hangout. Okay, as you're doing your sort of excursions around the world, tell us about this last trip that you made. So you made a big fuss online about, hey, I'm only taking this little bag, and and it's only got mirrorless gear in it. Why did you choose to just take that one, and why, other than just the size and the weight of it, were there any other considerations that you made when you were going overseas and taking that small kit?
Well, it was an experiment. I went to Turkey, spent 3 weeks there. This was not a photography assignment. This was a family vacation, my wife and myself. And I wanted to do it. And I got to tell you, it's absolutely frightening the first time you make a commitment to a major trip and don't take the big gear. But I ended up with a small bag that's an over-the-shoulder bag. It held a body. Actually, I took 2 bodies. I think I took a zoom and 3 primes. and an iPad and a Mac Air, and that all fit in a little tiny bag. That was my carry-on bag. I dumped the computers and the iPad in the hotel and went out in the field. It was marvelous. And, you know, I can honestly say, even though I did day photography, night photography, handheld, tripod, there wasn't a single shot that I came back with where I said, boy, I wish I had the bigger gear. Not a single one.
Good, good. Hey, Will, the other question that I asked about missing features in the gear that you have right now, or sending a message to Panasonic R&D, what's missing for you? I mean, is there anything missing?
No, I think that the camera system has a long way to go to get to perfection, but for their first attempt into the pro marketplace, it's terrific. First up is the Wi-Fi integration needs to be embedded even deeper into the workflow process of the camera. Right now, there are a couple of hiccups on the Wi-Fi thing. For instance, it won't shoot tethered to a Macintosh laptop, but it will go direct to an iPad or an iPhone, and that's really key to workflow when it comes to shooting headshots, when it comes to shooting outdoor nature shots, because you can actually see that wherever you need. Next, we talked a little bit about lenses, and of course I'd like to see the system add as many lenses as they can, and Bruce is right on when he says that people are interested in primes. One of the reasons, of course, is a prime lens is going to autofocus faster than a zoom is. There's going to be more control over depth of field when it comes to prime lenses, and Panasonic deserves so much credit for tagging up with Leica to make things like the 25mm prime lens, which is
I love that lens.
Yeah, me too.
That's one of the lenses I refer to as a masterpiece lens. And in fact, I've got another one here that kind of freaks people out, and that's the little 20mm f1.7. So a full-frame DSLR shooter, if they had a 45mm f1.7 lens that focuses autofocus perfectly at night, because it's so small and so light, this opens up doors for landscape shooters to be able to shoot. What I did was urban landscapes at night and was able to get some amazing shots. Also, the other prime lens that I use more than anything, because I'm a commercial shooter, we shoot a lot of products. We shoot video of products too. The Panasonic 45mm f2.8 lens is spectacular. So
That's
from
my favorite lens right now. Yeah.
There it is. There it is. So the selection of lenses, I'd love to have a lot more. I love the collaboration with Leica, of course, because as you know, I'm a huge Leica fan. So I would like to encourage my friends at Panasonic to keep doing exactly what they're doing. I'd like them to increase the density of that sensor. I know they're not going to increase the physical size of that sensor, but I'd like to kick it up over 20 megapixels just for guys that want to have that little extra detail, even though I'd probably turn it down anyway. And I could keep going, but this is only an hour-long show.
That's cool. That's what I wanted to hear. That's good. That's good feedback. Thanks, Will. For instance, like, you know what? I'm ready to make this jump into mirrorless, and I need to buy my first kit. Sure. What should that look like? And there, you know, of course, you're going to say, what do you want to shoot? Right? That's the next question.
Right. And even every entry-level photographer is a different kind of photographer.
Yeah.
And that's why, rather than say this is what I'd recommend, I'd almost say go in and, again, go into retail, talk to the guy behind the counter, say this is what I want to shoot. This is my budget. I mean, I may be a student. I may have $500 to spend. You know, I may be going on vacation and I want to splurge and spend $1,500, $2,000, and up and up. And it really, there's no real answer. I think because whether you're a beginner or maybe you're going out, you've already begun and you're trying to find your next lens, right? There's a budget for that. So I don't really have an answer except to say go talk about it and don't spend beyond your means. And just think of your system as a starter system that you're going to build on. So when you go into a Panasonic system, you know now that it's not just one or two lenses. It's a lot of great prime lenses, zoom lenses that'll fit into their system. And it's a long-term plan. Maybe you say over the next year, I want to spend, you know, I'll have $2,000, $2,500 to spend, and come up with a plan to get to a system that you want.
That's perfect.
I think if you're coming from a DSLR and you have a kit and you have lenses that you like, it's pretty easy to decide on your first, especially Micro Four Thirds kit, because the Panasonic line of lenses has virtually a replacement for anything that you're shooting. So for me, with my Nikon kit, I had the 24 to 70 2.8, the 70 to 200 2.8, and I used the 16 to 35 f4. I can replace those lenses pretty much exactly with the Lumix 12 to 35 2.8, the 35 to 100, and the 7 to 14 f4. Yeah. So I've got literally the exact same kit. It's just a quarter of the size and weight.
Yeah. Talked about gear. We've talked about focal lengths and lenses and sensor size and Micro Four Thirds mounts and all that stuff. Let's talk about once you got the shot and you it's ready to go out to the world. How do you share it? So I'm going to start with you, Doug. Doug, what's a good place, or what's advice do you give people that are watching this on where to put these images? They put them on Google Plus, Flickr, like 500 pics. There's so many places that you can share now. What's a good place to start?
Well, of course, wherever you have the most followers is probably the place to start. Because if you go to a new social network and nobody knows you, no one's going to see your images. But for me personally, when Google Plus got started a little over 2 years ago, it instantly became the place where I put most of my photography, because I essentially have only a community of photographers that I follow and vice versa there. But all of these services are terrific. Now, I'm a person who does a lot of post-processing, so I don't share straight out of camera. But I don't use Instagram, for example. But as I think Will was talking about, I think it was Will, more and more people are using Wi-Fi. I know, Frederick, you do some of that. And people are going directly from their cameras to social networks, or almost directly. And I think for a large segment of the photo community, this is becoming an important feature.
Yeah. Well, what about you? So the sharing options. What advice do you give people? You're muted, Will. Can't hear you.
I'm big into Zenfolio. Also, I do use SmugMug as well for sharing. I'm a firm believer in setting up a system, much like Zenfolio is perfect at, in creating a gallery. And I like that term. A gallery is not just a web page. It's a place to store images, both photo and video, as well as audio images, that we can show, we can make an instant slideshow, and we can sell off that page. So for me, when we're shooting like e-products for corporate folks, real estate agents, we'll shoot the photo and the video files to make that 20-second e-product. We'll send the selected photo and videos into the lab to be converted into the e-product, but we also make a page on Zenfolio. We'll take Zenfolio, pre-make a gallery so that we print it on a little piece of paper. I'm sorry, I don't have one here. It's about this big. Then we hand it to the person that we photographed and say, go to willcrockett.pro/ whatever the name of the company is, / the initials of the person. I've already made that gallery on Zenfolio the night before. So by the time that person gets back to her desk or her cubicle, she keys in that gallery location that I've custom made just for them, which they love, and my images are already there because the GH3 has that Wi-Fi connectivity that allows me to share it over to a iPad, and then the Zenfolio app from an iPad goes right up to my account. Perfect.
Nice. That's amazing. All right, Steve, I want to piggyback on that. Is that kind of how your workflow works? Are you doing that same kind of thing, or? Yeah,
it is. I've been utilizing Zenfolio quite a bit. I'm pretty big on the instant share now. I didn't used to be. I used to be an edit in the system kind of guy, and then I just kind of moved away from that. I do a lot of pre-processing. I do. I send it over with the Wi-Fi features on the GH3. That's really cool. It's one of those super features. And I send it over to my iPad. I can send it online, social media. I hit them all up at the same time. So using some apps on the iPad, it really makes sharing easier. And the more people that see my photos, it's worth it, that shot, to get that instant feedback. So
15-minute process. Just upload and put it together.
All right, Hangout. I'm going back into the Hangout now. Will Crockett, I'm going to start with you on this question. So we're talking about sharing, right, and getting your images out there.
Yep.
We've primarily been talking about mostly online.
That's right.
Digital medium, and that's kind of stuff that you're teaching. What about printing? I'm looking behind you back there. I see prints on the wall.
Yes, sir, you do.
Are prints gone? Can I make a hybrid print? What's going on?
Well, I don't know for sure when prints are going to go away, but if you close your eyes and you think about what 20 years from now is going to be like as far as an image that's on your home's, say, living room wall, Is that image that's showing you a picture, is it going to be a piece of paper that's printed on it? Well, probably not. It's going to be some sort of electronic substrate that's going to be assignable to pick up a photo or a video image and put it up there. So the George Jetson bird's eye view of where prints are going, unfortunately, is a bit of a dead end road. Now, this is just my opinion. It's not Ian's opinion, and that's okay because I'm a lot bigger than Ian, and I can beat him up any day. So,
See, he says that when he's in a hangout.
yeah, right. You get that? Yeah. But I tell you, I see.
Ian's a little younger than you. I'm just telling you.
I can run. I can run.
Well, I see that the print is coming back as a boutique product, and there's going to be a higher value placed on the print because of exactly what you were alluding to, by the way, Frederick. That is that we're seeing the change in non-pro photographers will not be able to keep up with this era of hybrid photography. They are not going to have the dedication to have the intent of shooting photo, video, and then putting it together in something that makes logical sense, like what Rob was talking about, how he likes to work in sequence.
Yeah.
Well, I'm finding that when we're selling an e-product, an electronic product, typically for a commercial customer, we're needing to use a print. And that print, for me, for instance, if you got a chance to see one of our current vlogs on the super features of the GH3 camera, you'll see that we actually created a beautiful print to go inside a sushi restaurant. And it was there to promote their e-card. So their e-card has a URL to it. Then we want people to go to that e-card. It's only 20 seconds long. To do that, we put a beautiful print right on the wall of the restaurant that had a QR code. It had the URL, a very simple URL to go to that. And now we're seeing the interaction, Frederick, between the e-card as the primary tool. That's what's bringing people into the restaurant. Then once they get there, they're seeing that cool print. What it does is it allows the photographer to, no matter which way their client wants to go, if they want prints and then add hybrid, or if they're buying hybrid and when we can put prints on top of there. And in fact, that's my strongest reason for using Zenfolio. I want to take that e-product, I'll put it on my Zenfolio gallery, I'll ask my client to proof it there. And when they go to that gallery page on my Zenfolio account, they'll see the e-product, but right next to it, they'll see printed product 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then downloadable products there. I'm encouraging print sales. That plants the idea in that client's head. And if they didn't see it, I'll ask them, hey, did you see any images on that gallery that you thought might make a really nice print for the restaurant or for the insurance agency, whatever? Ian's right. This is a great way to collect both hybrid and traditional / print in order to allow the photographer more options to sell.
All right, so I'm gonna move over to Doug K. Doug, I know from speaking to you previously that you like to print. So you've heard this conversation so far, digital. Even Will was even saying there's, in the future, the Jetsons' future, there may be some sort of substrate that's digital that you put some bits in and it moves, that kind of thing. Where do you fall on this? I mean, are you bound to printing and laying ink on paper, or are you going to start moving more digital?
I'm so 20th century. I can't believe it. No, I love printing, and there's one thing about printing that will, at least for what I do, always make the difference, and that is that I'm controlling everything all the way through to the final product. For example, I have an online site where I sell prints, but I do not do fulfillment through that website. If people want to buy a print, they have to get it from me, and I have to do the print myself. And that, to me, is the thing I like about it the most, because when I have had people buy prints from a lab and see them, I was sort of shocked at what they ended up getting. One of the challenges, for example, from online services is you'll often have the customer doing the cropping, and that drives me crazy to think that somebody, if I shot something at a 4:3 aspect ratio, but they want an 8:10, that they're going to choose the crop. Drives me crazy. So to me, the print is the ultimate version of what I do.
That's a good point you brought up. So sort of, I'm looking with the workflow you described, Doug. I'm looking at more of the limited edition artist gallery print kind of thing, right? Yeah. And what I want to put to all of you guys and everybody, feel free to jump in and do free for all. Just the whole idea, is that possible in the hybrid if you're doing something like that? Steve, why don't you kick us off? Is it possible to do kind of the flow that Doug is talking about, where you're doing say a limited edition hybrid where you can price it really high, and I'm only going to deliver, 500 megabytes of this file, and then it's gone. Can you do that?
No, I don't think that kind of model can transfer over to hybrid. We're looking more at mass workflow and bringing in a lot of clients, doing a lot of things, and reproducing. So, we use e-templates to reproduce everything we're working on. And that allows me to go to different businesses and say, hey, do you want to have a hybrid e-product made that kind of advertises you? You can go on social media, you can share it, you can use something like the eCard.pro system for delivery, and be able to share that with your clients and bring people into your business. Because I've been focusing more into the business end of doing commercial type work. So for me, that kind of workflow really helps out, and it makes things a lot easier to be able to just
let me reproduce it, if you don't mind. Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah,
Steve.
go for it.
Go for it.
Steve is actually working with me on a project where I asked him not to discuss, and thank you, Steve, for holding that tight. But we've got a rather large client that wants us to go to their real estate agent convention, and they want us to set up a booth in which we're going to shoot their 20-second e-card, the replacement to the business card. And Frederick, as you said, a limited edition. What their plans are is they have I think they call it a president's circle. Those are the top 25 real estate agents in the entire, I think they're global world. They get together once a year for this convention, and they're asking us to create a special President's Circle edition e-product that we will be authorized to use only when that client tells us. So, as much as we're going to be able to produce something like that, and we will, it will have a different look to it, and it'll be designated with the President's Circle. Does it have the same impact as the print? Not really. But if that's what people are looking for, we've got to give the clients what they're asking for.
All right, that's awesome. Steve, you're on the street shooting. Are you printing at all? Or is everything all bits? Are you making? Are you producing any atoms at any time?
For the most part, it is digital all the way. But I do the occasional print. It has to be a special request, and I like to do little special kind of products. So this is one of the things that I've done. You can see it here. It's a curved metal print.
Oh, nice.
And this is something that I actually pre-processed this shot while I was on location. This is all in camera using the Panasonic G6.
Nice.
So, great shot. But something like this, a metal print, that's a special kind of thing. That's where I'm seeing there being some kind of demand in printing. Besides that, everyone wants digital. And whether they want to print it themselves. I don't like handling a lot of the printing stuff, but these products make it kind of worth it to me, just to have that special thing.
Excellent point.
Yeah. No, Rob, you could do, we're talking about we're talking about different tiers, right? I mean, we're talking about mass where, it's easy, I'm going to get it out. I'm even going to pre-process in camera and maybe even make that metal print, those sorts of things.
Right.
What Doug was talking about is what sounds like the fine art workflow.
Sure.
Sure. Where do you fall on that? I mean, could you do that?
My customers and my clients are the people producing the photography. So my clients aren't looking for an e-product that they're going to sell. My clients want to know how to make better pictures, how to use their cameras. They want me to take them to places that they can make pictures they couldn't make on their own.
Sure. So
they're printing. They're entering local photography contests, that kind of thing. They like the print. They like that. What could be considered old school kind of workflow. They're going to shoot and process and print. But they respond really well to the video tips that I give them.
Yeah.
So I find that if I say, hey, I'm giving a video class, I'm giving a hybrid class, people kind of like, oh, I don't shoot video. But if I say, okay, we're going to go shoot in Costa Rica. We're going to go to Costa Rica for a week. Okay, so we get some tips and we go to some cool places. And I say, hey, your subject is moving. Just roll 10 seconds of video.
Yeah.
And then we'll display that along with your finished still image. And they go, well, what do I need to do? That's it. I go, oh, okay. So I'm just adding video to their workflow, and they're having fun with it, and they enjoy it. So it gets them to use all the capability of their cameras, not just, oh, I don't shoot video, because you don't have to make the choice. So they're still going home. They're still going home and making prints. But then they have this, escape, I call them, that they can share online. And again, they can point people to their prints then. They can put that on their website instead of just a gallery of still images.
Ian, let's close this off, at least this piece off with, again, you're in the industry, right? Printing. Have you seen it? What does the graph look like for people that are ordering prints? Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it flat?
I think it is going down a little bit, but I think the point about the metal print was a really good one. I'm seeing a lot of these unique products coming out, and more companies are coming out with really cool, really nice, innovative stuff. And it's quite obvious that the day of printing a 4x6 an image of every image and putting them in shoe boxes is kind of gone away. Same with scrapbooks. I mean, that's gone. It's all on apps now, right? It's what's the newest app that you can scrapbook with. So that stuff has sort of gone away, but it's up to you as a photographer to really find those new, cool, and unique products that you can sell so you can still monetize your work and offer something that, again, a customer can't just get by going to Rite Aid for 19 cents. They can actually get a really nice, professionally produced product from you and buy it straight from your website, whether it's the curved metal print or the hybrid digital e-video product, or an iPhone case, or there's all kinds of different things now that are quote unquote prints, right?
Right.
Maybe they're not 4x6 prints. That's sort of going away. But again, it's about these cool new products that can bring attention to your work in a way that's meaningful.
Right on.
That's perfect. That's the perfect way to end that particular discussion. Guys, we're running out of time, but I want to squeeze one more piece in here. I want to loop it back to hardware, especially in the context of outdoor photography, that sort of thing. So looking at these cameras, one of the things that drew me to the Micro Four Thirds format was the lens mount and the flexibility of that, and the promise of converters that would hopefully bridge the gap between my Nikon gear and moving over to my mirrorless gear. Doug K., I want to throw this to you first. I know that you have converters on some of your mirrorless gear. Do you find yourself using your older glass with the newer body, or is it just kind of a placebo stopgap? If I need it, it's there.
I started out using converters with the smaller bodies because I had a pretty big investment in Nikon glass. But I'll tell you, you feel pretty stupid when you put a gigantic lens on a tiny little camera. So what's happened now is that the manufacturers of smaller cameras have started to fill in the product line. You talked about the two Lumix lenses, the Leicas, the 25 and the 45. Those are actually fairly large lenses by small camera standards. But still, once you've got those in your hand, you say, well, why should I go out and why should I carry around a 50 or a 90, which would be sort of the similar field of view? Those lenses are much more tuned to the smaller bodies. So I think the adapters work very well, but it's a stopgap.
Yep. Okay. Got it. So stopgap. Will Crockett, where do you fall on that? Stopgap. So you just bite the bullet, save for another pay cycle, and buy the lens, or convert your old lenses?
Yeah, I'm going to take it even one step further. I think that the idea of the adapter is more of a marketing challenge than it is a suitable solution, because any photographer that's got any sort of skills at all will pick up a mirrorless camera, and if they were to mount a full-size lens on it, in fact, the one that we always refer to is the either Nikon or Canon 70-200 f2.8, right? We have to have that lens. That's a go-to lens.
Yeah.
Well, once you were to take that and put it on any mirrorless camera, even one that's more full-size like the GH3, you run into a big problem. One is it's way too front heavy and your wrists are going to be really sore. The next are there aren't any adapters that do the image stabilization back and forth. And when you have a longer lens, you want image stabilization. My thought is, if you're going to make the jump into mirrorless and you're serious about it, you're going to have to get a couple of the serious lenses. And if you want to mark the actual calendar, when I took mirrorless serious, it was when Panasonic announced their replacement to the 24-70 f2.8 and the replacement to the 70-200 f2.8, which are the 12-35 f2.8 Lumix lenses. And this guy right here, this is the one that revolutionized and killed, in my opinion, killed the DSLR. This is a Lumix GH3 with their replacement to the 70 to 200 f2.8 lens. This is the 35 to 100. This lens is sharper than my Nikon and Canon 70 to 200s. It autofocuses faster, it's lighter, it's less expensive, and it's weatherproof. So if you're making money shooting a 70 to 200, shooting weddings, portraits, seniors, and you haven't put one of these in your hands, you owe it to yourself. Just give it a shot. Sure, the sensor is smaller, but how many times are you selling 30 by 40 inch prints? It's probably pretty rare.
Right, and that particular lens, Will, is f2.8 all the way through the range, right?
All the way through. So if you want to use it indoors with your strobes, for instance, and when you use a shifting zoom, you run into problems. Remember, a lot of photographers want to start moving into hybrid, and a zoom that shifts, it shifts its aperture through the length of the zoom range. That gets you into big problems when you're in a portrait situation. And of course, if you want to start shooting what we call talking portraits, that's one of the super features of the GH3. You want to use the video button instead of the photo button, and in that case, you don't want to have any exposure problems. Post-processing video for exposure and white balance and color problems is something that you would rather drill your own teeth than work on.
That's true.
Awesome. All right, guys, I'm going to bring it back in here. We're just about out of time. I want to wrap this up. Rob Knight, where would you like folks to go to look at some of that amazing photography that we were looking at before and otherwise connect with you? You got a workshop coming up?
I do. I have one at the end of January in Costa Rica. This is a brand new workshop that's focused on wildlife. My usual fall trip is a little more of a generalist kind of workshop, and we do some wildlife. But this is a week of looking for quetzals and tree frogs and hummingbirds and anything else you want in Costa Rica.
You can guarantee a poisonous red frog?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can almost guarantee finding one of those with a good guide. Almost.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on.
But you can find out about that at Costa Rica photoworkshop.com or robknightphotography.com.
Costa Rica photoworkshop.com or robknightphotography.com.
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Ian Stone, I have a feeling I know where you'd like people to go to check out Zenfolio.
Yeah, zenfolio.com. All the info you need is there.
Awesome. All right, and into the hangout. I catch him off guard drinking water. Steve Lynch. Where's your website at?
Well, you can always find me at hybridphoto.pro and over at the photochannel.pro, where I take on the role as the dean. Over at Hybrid Photo, I am the editor of the site now, and I keep things going every day. So, and if you really want to find me, you can head over to stevelynchphoto.com, and that's where my portfolio is. And I'm always on social media too. So.
Perfect. And just search for your name, Steve Lynch. You should pop up, right?
I should. You might get a comedian. You might get something else. And I think there's a U.S. senator with the name, too. So I'm kind of dug it in there. Yeah.
All right, Doug Kay, what about you? Where would you like folks to go to connect with you?
I'm all over the place, but if you go to dougkaye.com, K-A-Y-E, you'll find my photography work. But up at the top of the page, you'll see a link to our show, All About the Gear, where in a future episode, you're going to see our review of the Lumix GX7.
Yes, you will. Awesome. Thanks for stopping by, Doug. Appreciate it. And I'm going to give him the last word here, Mr. Will Crockett. I know you got something to say. Where would you like folks to go? Yeah, you.
Well, I am kind of the default guru of the GH3, and if you're a Lumix GH3 user, or if you're thinking about from these conversations to becoming a GH3 user, we're told one of the best of the setup videos, how you use the GH3, is a piece that we have that's going up on the photochannel.pro. It's called Insider's Guide to the Lumix GH3, How to Max Out Your Super Features. And that's available on the photochannel.pro. But more importantly, we have a vlog website that's terrific. You can find the Hybrid Heroes every day, a brand new post, a blog post on hybridphoto.pro, where you can learn no charge all kinds of great stuff about processing, pre-processing, like all the Hybrid Heroes do. And in fact, you can even find one of those cool e-scapes that Rob made for us. They're really nice stuff up there.
That's really cool. Well, thanks, Will. And thanks to all you guys for stopping by. It's been a great hangout.
Thank you.